Hi, I'm going to talk to you today about how to control bleeding, but I want to start out by presenting a few facts to you. So, according to an article called Stop the Bleeding that was published by the Journal of Emergency Medical Services in 2013, 5 million people die each year from traumatic injury. And then, of those 5 million people, this is according to the National Trauma Institute's article called Hemorrhage, of those 5 million people, 35 to 40% of the deaths, of the traumatic deaths each year, are because of hemorrhaging, or they bled to death. And then one more, and we'll put this all together to make sense. According to the National Center for Biotechnology information, their 2007 study called Preventable Deaths from Hemorrhage, 16% of these people that die from hemorrhaging are preventable. In other words, what they're saying is 16% of these 2 million people bled to death without other life-threatening injuries. Their lives could have been saved by someone just stopping the bleeding. What does that mean to you? Will this affect your life? Well, if we put that into real numbers, that translates to 320,000 people die each year that could have been prevented if someone would have just stopped that bleeding. That sounds like it could affect all of our lives at some point. So what are you going to do about it? Well, that's why I'm here today. I'm going to show you how to stop the bleeding. I'm going to demonstrate this for you. Now, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security has a website called Stop the Bleed. On their website, they list 3 steps that we are actually going to review today, or we're going to learn about today, and then I'm going to demonstrate those for you. So the 3 steps listed on the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's website are: first, apply pressure with your hands; second, apply a dressing; third, apply a tourniquet or tourniquets. So we're going to go over these today. I'm going to show you each of these steps. First, we're going to talk about apply pressure with your hands. Now, if someone's bleeding, let's say I have a serious bleed on my arm, or I'm cut on my arm, the first thing you need to do is expose the bleed. Obviously, there's no blood here today, but we're going to pretend. So you have to expose the area. Now, why would you want to expose the area? Well, the biggest reason is you could think that the blood is coming from somewhere. There could be blood here, but the blood could actually be coming from up higher. It could be, it could be leaking from somewhere else. And so you want to see where that blood is coming from so that you know you can get it stopped. Once you expose the area, you want to take your hand and apply firm pressure. You can do this with your bare hand and apply firm, steady pressure. And you want to hold that and not let go until that bleeding stops. Now, a lot of times, just applying firm pressure will be enough. On a more serious bleed, and also for your own personal protection, you want to use a dressing. Now, a dressing could be something as easy as a 4x4 like this, or this is a piece of gauze, or it could be sometimes clothing if you have nothing else. You want to use something clean. If you have something clean, it's much better. It will reduce infection. But if the bleed's right here, if I'm cut right there, you apply the dressing, and then you again apply firm, steady pressure with your hand. It's more useful or more effective if you use both hands if possible. I can't do that to myself, obviously, but let's pretend it was on my leg. You could put it on there and apply both pressure with both hands. Now, most of the time, your body is going to clot on its own, and just the pressure will be enough. But let's say there's something serious. Let's say there's an accident where someone loses a hand or a foot or a leg. The next step is to apply a tourniquet. Traditionally, we've been taught for a long time that tourniquets are an absolute last resort, that that person will lose the limb if a tourniquet is applied, that there's no other choice. But that actually is something that happened in the past. That is no longer the case. This is according to the Journal of Emergency Medical Services. They published an article called Tourniquet First. And it says that a tourniquet can be applied quickly with minimal personnel and no other equipment. In fact, most modern tourniquets are designed to be self-applied if necessary. And we find this on the ambulance. I've been a instructor and training officer on the ambulance now for 15 years, and we have been taught now that if the bleed is serious, put a tourniquet on right away. Don't even waste time trying to stop it another way, that you're losing valuable time, you're losing blood, when the tourniquet can be put on within moments and you can move on to helping other patients or helping that patient in other ways. So I'm going to show you how to apply this tourniquet. So let's say I was bleeding right here from my arm. You want to apply the tourniquet about 2 or 3 inches above the bleed. So here, this is a commercial tourniquet. You can get them at camping stores, at first aid stores. They are inexpensive, and everyone should really have one of these. But this is a commercial tourniquet. So what you do, it's just Velcro here, if you can see that. You take the tourniquet and you apply it 2 to 3 inches above the area that's bleeding. And then you just pull on the Velcro until it's snug. I'm sorry. You can see it's a little bit harder to do yourself, but it still works the same way. So once this is snug, you take this, and I did the Velcro on this side. You take this and you turn the post. I'm not going to do it very tight because it'll get painful, but you want to do it, you want to continue turning this post until the bleeding stops. And then, as soon as you get the bleeding stop, you rest this post right there. Oh, sorry, I'm having a hard time getting that to... You rest the post right, there's a little, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little hook there. You rest the post right there, you take this, and you put it over top, and I don't know if you can read that or not, but it says date and time. You take a pen, if you have it available, and write right on that, and that gives the doctors a good idea of how long that tourniquet has been on. Like I said before, it used to be, they said, more than, I don't remember the amount, 20 minutes or something like that, and the person would lose the limb, but this is not the case. They now have up to 6 hours to release that tourniquet, and sometimes even after that, they can still save that limb. So this is really an effective way. This is something everyone should own one. Everyone should have this in your car, in your emergency kits, whatever. Everyone should have one of those. So those are the ways to stop bleeding. And as you can see, it's really something everyone can do. You put pressure with your hand or hands if available. You apply a dressing and put pressure with your hands, or you can apply a tourniquet. One thing, if you follow these steps, you could find that you could save a life of a stranger, a friend, a family member, or even yourself. And you could not become a statistic. You could save yourself from becoming a statistic just by knowing these simple steps. Thank you.